My friend, let me tell you something that nobody wants to admit, but everyone feels deep down. You can be working hard, doing everything right, following all the rules they taught you, and still remain trapped in a cycle that seems to have no way out. And you know what the hardest part of this truth is? It's not your fault. Life doesn't deal the cards fairly. Some are born with the whole deck in their hands, while others have to fight for every card they get. This inequality of opportunity is real, it's painful, and pretending it doesn't exist only makes the situation worse. But here's the paradox that's going to turn your head inside out. The same people who complain about not having money are the ones making choices every single day that guarantee they'll never have real money. I know this sounds harsh, maybe even unfair, but stick with me for the next few minutes because what I'm about to show you could completely change the trajectory of your financial life. Here's a truth that goes against everything they taught you. Most people aren't poor because of lack of money, they're poor because of lack of financial literacy and because they follow habits that were deliberately designed to keep you exactly where you are. Your employer knows this, the banks know this, the financing companies know this, and they profit billions while you continue believing you're doing the right thing. And if you lost the birth lottery, if you didn't have the opportunities others had, then you're going to need to work even harder, you're going to need to be smarter, more strategic, more willing to break the rules that keep you in place. In the next few minutes, I'm going to expose 4 middle-class habits that are destroying your chances of building real wealth. These aren't obvious things everyone already knows, they're sophisticated traps disguised as conventional wisdom. And with each habit I reveal, you'll recognize someone you know doing exactly that, maybe even yourself. But recognizing the problem is only the first step. The second is having the courage to act differently even when everyone around you is following the herd straight into the financial abyss. So here we go. Have you ever stopped to think about why some people work years and years at the same company and still always seem to be in the same place financially? The answer might be right in front of you, but sometimes we prefer not to face this truth head-on. There's a common practice in the corporate world that keeps millions of workers trapped in a cycle that seems endless. Employers know exactly how much they need to pay for you not to leave, and believe me, that amount is rarely what you're actually worth. It's as if there's a game happening, and most people don't even know they're playing. Think with me for a second about how the mind of the person on the other side of the table works. When a company hires someone, the main objective isn't to pay fair value for the work, it's to pay the minimum necessary to keep that chair occupied. They do calculations, study the market, know exactly where the line is between you staying and you looking for another opportunity. And when salary increase time comes around, what do you get? 3, maybe 4% if you're lucky. Meanwhile, in many cases, inflation is eroding your purchasing power faster than you can keep up. Now comes the part that many people don't like to hear, but needs to be said in plain terms. When you finally decide to leave that company, you know what happens. They go to the market trying to hire someone for your position and suddenly discover they need to offer 20, 30% more than they were paying you. That's right, the work you were doing was worth much more all along. You were just accepting crumbs because it was comfortable, because it was predictable, because you knew that on a certain day of the month that money would hit your account. That comfort comes at a very high price, and you're paying with years of your life. Let me give you a real example that happens every day in the job market. Imagine someone working as a financial analyst for 5 years at the same company, earning $60,000 a year. Every year they get that standard 3% raise, accumulating experience, developing skills, becoming increasingly valuable. But when they finally decide to test the market and go to an interview at another company, they discover that professionals with their experience are earning between $80,000 and $90,000. 5 years thrown away, leaving money on the table, money that could have been invested, generating returns, building a different future. The issue here isn't just about money, my friend. It's about recognizing your own value in a world that will try to convince you otherwise. It's about understanding that loyalty is important, but one-way loyalty is just exploitation disguised as virtue. Networking isn't just exchanging cards at fancy events, it's talking with people in your field, discovering what the market is paying, understanding where you're really positioned on this big board. When you have that information, when you know what you're worth, the conversation with your boss changes completely in tone. Many people think that starting from scratch somewhere else is a setback, that all that history built at the current company goes down the drain. But what if I told you that staying put is the real setback? When you accept a 30% raise by changing jobs, you're not just making more money today, you're completely changing the trajectory of your financial life. That extra money can go straight into your investments, can accelerate the building of your wealth, can be the difference between retiring at 65 or at 55. And it all starts when you stop accepting less than you deserve, because accepting less than your worth isn't humility, it's giving up on the life you could be living. You know that feeling when you finally get a promotion or land that better job you were looking for. The first thought that comes to most people's minds isn't about investing that extra money or building a more robust emergency fund. The immediate thought is about what new car they'll be able to drive or what bigger house they'll be able to move to. It's as if there's a script everyone follows without questioning. An unwritten manual saying that financial success means lifestyle upgrade. But here's the problem, that script was written by people who profit when you spend, not when you build wealth. Let's talk about cars, because this is probably the most common and most devastating trap for anyone trying to get out of the rat race. You don't need to have all the money to buy a car nowadays, you just need enough to pay the monthly installments. And that's exactly how the finance companies want you to think, because when you focus only on the monthly payment, you end up buying a car much more expensive than you can really afford. They stretch the financing term, lower the payment, and suddenly you're driving a $50,000 vehicle while earning $60,000 a year. It seems to make sense at the time, but it's pure poison for your financial future. There's a simple rule that very few people follow, but that can save your financial life. You shouldn't spend more than 15% of your annual income on transportation, and that includes everything: the car payment, insurance, maintenance, gas, everything. So if you earn $60,000 a year, you should spend a maximum of $9,000 annually on your car. When you put it on paper like that, it becomes obvious that that brand new SUV doesn't fit in the budget. But how many people actually do this math before signing the contract? The truth hurts, but it needs to be said, your car is killing your chances of building real wealth. Now let's move to the second big trap, the house. Banks will lend you 4-5 times your annual salary to buy a property, and suddenly that apartment that was out of your reach seems possible. You got a $10,000 increase in annual salary, and that means the bank will lend you $50,000 more so you can buy a much bigger house in a better neighborhood with that dream kitchen. But here's what nobody tells you: just because the bank approves the loan doesn't mean you should accept that full amount. The bank isn't concerned with your dreams of financial freedom, it's concerned with profiting from the interest you'll pay over the next 30 years. The golden rule here is never spend more than 28% of your gross income on housing. That means before taxes, before any deductions. If you earn $5,000 gross per month, you shouldn't be paying more than $1,400 in house payments. Does it seem restrictive? Maybe. But you know what's really restrictive? Spending the next 20 years of your life tied to a giant debt, with no money left over to invest, to travel, to enjoy life, all because you wanted to impress people who probably don't even care that much about where you live. That bigger house won't make you happier if you're living on the financial edge every month. Think of it this way: every dollar you put extra into a car or house payment is a dollar that's not working for you in the stock market, in real estate funds, in any investment that could be generating passive income. It's a dollar that's working against you, tying you to that job you may not even like that much because you need to pay the bills. The real question you should ask before making any lifestyle upgrade is this: is this purchase bringing me closer to financial freedom or moving me further away from it? Because at the end of the day, real wealth isn't about having expensive things, it's about having choices, and every big purchase you make is choosing for you. If the last few years have taught us anything, it's that the world can turn upside down overnight. Millions of people woke up one morning with stable jobs and ended the day not knowing where the next paycheck would come from. And the scariest part of it all wasn't the pandemic itself, it was realizing how most people were living on a financial tightrope without even knowing it. When you depend completely on a single source of income, you're not just working for a company, you're putting all your financial security, all your ability to pay your bills, to put food on the table, in the hands of people who can dismiss you with a 2-line email. That's not security, my friend. That's living in permanent risk disguised as stability. The middle class has this ingrained habit of thinking that having a steady job is synonymous with financial security. You go to work every day, do your job properly, get your salary at the end of the month, and repeat the cycle. It seems secure because it's predictable, because you know how much is going into your account. But predictability isn't the same thing as security. And this confusion keeps millions of people trapped in a fragile system. When that single source dries up, whether from layoff, illness, economic crisis, or any other reason, everything collapses. And then you realize that all that stability was an illusion. It was a house of cards waiting for the first strong wind to knock it down. Look at how this works in practice. Imagine someone who works as a sales manager, earns $80,000 a year, has all their bills adjusted to that salary. The company goes through a restructuring, cuts 20% of the staff, and suddenly this person is on the street. It doesn't matter if they were good at what they did. Doesn't matter how many targets they hit last year, the cash flow stopped. Meanwhile, there's another person in the same situation, but who in addition to the main job has an extra income of $1,000 a month renting a property, plus $500 from stock dividends, plus $300 doing consulting on weekends. When the main job ends, this second person doesn't go into total panic, because they still have money coming in through other channels. Income diversification isn't a rich person's thing. It's a survival strategy for anyone who takes their financial freedom seriously. You can start small. It could be driving for Uber a few hours a week. It could be babysitting on weekends. It could be selling products online. It could be investing in dividend-paying stocks or real estate funds that distribute monthly income. The point isn't how much you earn at the beginning with these extra sources. The point is creating a system where your survival doesn't depend on a single decision that other people can make without consulting you. It's about having a plan B, C, and D when plan A fails. Think with me about the power you hand over to your employer when they're your only source of support. You accept bad working conditions because you need the salary, you swallow insults because you can't risk being fired, you put aside your dreams and ambitions because you need to keep that money coming in every month. This is a modern form of prison where the bars are made of bills to pay and financial dependence. When you have multiple sources of income, when you know that if you lose your job tomorrow you'll still have money coming in, your relationship with work changes completely, you negotiate as equals, you make choices based on what's best for you, not just on what keeps you financially alive. And here's something that few people talk about but is absolutely crucial. Each additional income source you create not only adds security, it multiplies your opportunities to build real wealth. The extra $1,000 a month you earn from a side job can go straight into investments, compounded over 10, 20 years, can turn into hundreds of thousands of dollars. Meanwhile, the person who depends only on salary is using 100% of income to pay bills, with nothing left over to invest, to grow, to eventually get out of the race. The real difference between those who stay trapped and those who break free financially often starts with this simple but powerful decision to never, ever, put all your eggs in one basket. We spend years in school learning mathematical formulas we'll never use again, memorizing historical dates, studying complex theories, but nobody ever sits down with us to teach how a loan works, what compound interest is, or how to plan financially for the future. It's almost as if the educational system was designed to create competent workers, but not financially independent people. And then you leave school, start working, get your first paycheck, and have no idea how to transform that money into something bigger than just paying bills for the rest of your life. This financial ignorance isn't an accident, my friend. It's the fuel that keeps the rat race running perfectly. When you're in your 20s, it's okay not to know much about finances. You're discovering the world, experiencing new things, living experiences. The problem is when you reach your 30s, your 40s, and continue with the same level of financial knowledge you had at 22. At this stage of the game, the consequences of your financial ignorance start to weigh heavily. You should already understand how the tax system works, how to maximize your earnings, how to make your money work for you while you sleep. But most people reach this age still thinking a savings account is an investment, still believing the company will take care of their retirement, still not understanding the difference between asset and liability. Let me give you some practical examples of what you need to know. First, understand your cash flow, know exactly how much comes in and how much goes out every month, where your money is going. It seems basic, but you'd be amazed at how many people can't answer this simple question. Second, know the rules of the tax game because depending on where you put your money, you can pay much more or much less tax. An investment in a retirement account like a 401k in the United States can give you enormous tax benefits that most people ignore. Third, understand the concept of return on investment. Know how to calculate whether that course you want to take or that business you want to start is really worth it financially. Now let's talk about the second part of this trap, social pressure to spend. We live in a society where your value as a person is measured by the things you own, by the clothes you wear, by the car you drive, by the places you travel. Your social media is full of people showing the edited best version of their lives, and this creates a powerful pressure for you to do the same. You see your friend posting a photo at an expensive restaurant, another showing off a new car, that acquaintance displaying a designer bag, and without realizing it you start to feel you need to do the same to not fall behind. This competition is destroying the financial future of millions of people. I've seen people earning $300,000 a year living paycheck to paycheck, without a cent invested, without built wealth, all because they're spending every dollar they earn trying to keep up appearances. They live in the right house, in the right neighborhood, send their kids to the right school, drive the right car, wear the right clothes, but they're financially broken on the inside. And you know what the irony is? The people they're trying to impress are probably as indebted as they are, also living in this same collective farce. Meanwhile, there are people earning much less but building real wealth because they're not playing this stupid game of appearances. They're focused on accumulating income-generating assets, not accumulating expense-generating liabilities. True financial freedom begins when you stop living the life others expect you to live and start living based on your own values and goals. Maybe you don't care that much about having the newest car. Maybe you'd rather travel than have a huge house. Maybe you value having free time more than having expensive things. When you discover what really matters to you, and not to Instagram or your coworkers, everything changes. You stop working to sustain a lifestyle that doesn't even make you truly happy and start working to build the life you really want. And that's the exact moment when the rat race loses its power over you, because you finally understood that the whole race was an illusion created to keep you in place. So now you know the truth, my friend. You've seen the 4 traps that keep the middle class stuck in the rat race. You've seen how they work. You've seen how they drain your financial future drop by drop. But knowledge without action is just entertainment. It's just another video you watched and forgot. The real question is this: what are you going to do with this information now? Are you going back to autopilot tomorrow morning, or are you going to make a different decision for the first time? Look in the mirror and ask yourself honestly. Are you accepting a salary lower than you're worth because it's comfortable? Are you driving a car you can't really afford just to impress people who don't even care about you? Are you putting all your financial security in the hands of an employer who could dismiss you tomorrow? Are you ignoring your financial education while spending money trying to look rich instead of actually building wealth? If you answered yes to any of these questions, you already know what needs to change. Here's what I want you to do today, not tomorrow, not next week, today. Choose one of these areas and take action. Research what the market pays for your position, start looking for an extra income source, open an investment account, cancel a subscription you don't use. It might seem small, but every movement in the right direction counts, and it's better to take a small step today than to plan a giant step that never happens. The difference between people who escape the rat race and those who stay trapped forever isn't luck, isn't intelligence, isn't being born in the right place. It's the willingness to act even when it's uncomfortable, even when your friends think it's strange, even when you're afraid of making mistakes. You can keep doing what you've always done and have the same results you've always had, or you can start today writing a different financial story. If this video opened your eyes to something you weren't seeing before, if it made you think differently about your financial choices, then do this. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because every week I bring content that will continue expanding your vision about wealth building. And don't stop here, go to the other videos on the channel, continue deepening this knowledge, because financial education is like bodybuilding. You don't get strong doing one workout, you get strong with consistency over time. My friend, before you go, I want to make one last thing very clear. I believe in you. I truly believe it's not just a nice phrase to end the video. Each of us is fighting battles that others can't even imagine, carrying weights that nobody sees, facing challenges that sometimes seem insurmountable. Some started this race with enormous advantages, others started miles behind the starting line. And yes, that's unfair, life is unfair. But here's the truth that supports everything we talked about today. Despite all the obstacles, despite the inequalities, despite the bad cards life dealt you, you have more potential than you're using right now. We all do. The difference between where you are and where you could be isn't just about money. It's about knowledge, about better choices, about having the courage to do things differently. And the most beautiful part of all this is that when you improve your life, when you reach your potential, you automatically create possibilities for other people around you to do the same. Never stop studying. Never stop learning. Never let anyone convince you that you already know enough. The world changes too fast. Opportunities appear and disappear. And only those who continue educating themselves can see and seize these chances when they arise. Every book you read, every video like this you watch with real attention, every conversation you have with people who know more than you, all of this is building a better version of who you are. So reflect carefully about subscribing to this channel, about continuing this learning journey. There's much more content here that can help you see the financial world with different eyes, make better decisions, build that life you deserve but that nobody will hand you for free. The invitation is made, the choice is yours, and I'll be here every week bringing more knowledge for those who decide they want something different from life.